welcome to this end of May, the end of May reading for Divine Masculines with Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising. This could be either for Divine Femmes who are watching or Divine Masculines who are watching. For ease of time and memory on my phone, I've decided to go ahead and just pull these cards beforehand and go ahead and go through the reading. I've already kind of connected with them and have a sense of what's going on. And what I'm seeing is that these divine masculines are... So this card is the Lodge, and it's about counsel, it's about purification, going within, connecting with the ancestors and your guides and with spirit, and allowing yourself to really be cleansed, I want to say cleansed by fire, like the heat is, it's just making you sweat out all of the impurities and things going on around you. And so these... true to being Aries, having strong Aries, these masculines for this reading are definitely in some third-party karmic situations that are making them sweat. And although it's uncomfortable, it's needed. These divine masculines have been avoiding their shadows, have been avoiding accountability, have been really stuck in their ego and spirit right now. Like, this is their current energy. And I pulled some divine guidance cards that are of my own making, which say the only way to get someone to stop treating you like a backup plan is to stop acting like one, and spirit has got your back. Let spirit take the wheel while you work on yourself. And so spirit right now is really... they're putting them in a state of solitude that is partially provoked. Like, these divine masculines are the ones that the ones that I'm feeling that I'm reading for have really been having issues with being comfortable with being in their own company and really enjoying it. And so they try to surround themselves by a lot of very superficial connections, and they try to convince themselves that those are healthy and needed and chosen and all that BS. And on the other side of that, they're very aware that the situations that they're in are not good for them. They're not making them happy. And no matter how much they try to water the grass where they're sitting on it, it's not growing. It's going brown. And they've even gone to the point of trying to paint that grass, and it still is not... I imagine somebody having a totally brown lawn and going out and painting it so that it looks real pretty and the neighbors think it's real nice, and then the people that you live with in your house go out and, walk around on it while it's still wet, and then they take all of the paint off the grass and drag it through the house, and then you've got to go through and clean all that up, and on top of that, your grass is back to being brown again. That's kind of kind of getting the image of like a circus situation like that for these these divine masculines with strong Aries placements. And it's becoming such a level of absurdity that they don't really want to be a part of it. And so they're withdrawing. They're the things that are going on are really pulling them into their own shells and putting them in situations where they're really sweating a lot of things. They're sweating money, legalities, time, energy, their own health. There's been a lot of things that have been really taking a toll on them, and it's causing them to want to withdraw, which is kind of a new experience for them. They're used to kind of being the life of the party, and now they really just want to be left alone. And on the other side of that, they do very much... they want deep, intimate, genuinely loving connections, and they're not... but when they try to reach for them with the third parties, they're not getting it. And when they try to reach out to the people that they thought were their friends, they're not there. They're realizing that their friendships have been pretty superficial. And for some of them who were with their divine feminines, maybe some of you watching, they're really starting to feel the fact that they're seeing enough contrast to recognize that the kind of love that you provided them, as imperfect as it was genuine. Like, that it was... that you cared about being with them to be with them, not because they did something for you or gave you money. And sure, you know, maybe you tried to say, hey, we need to get our nest egg together. Or maybe you said, hey, I have some needs I want met too. And to them, that for a while felt like you were just with them for what they could do for you, but they're really starting to recognize that that wasn't true, and that that was part of their fears. And the situation that they've manifested now is a manifestation of focusing on their fears so much that now they are with people that only want them for their money or their status or their house. Or I mean, yeah, I'm getting the sense because of the way that this lodge is pictured in here, that this masculine likely has a house. Either they bought one or they rent one, and they've got a fair amount of people in there that are keeping them from having their own space truly, and they're not feeling like the king of their castle, and they're recognizing that even when they didn't have a castle, they always felt like a king with you, and they're not sure what to do at this point. The card that I have over here is what Spirit is really calling their attention to focus on at the end of May. And May is the 5th month. To me, that's the month of the Hierophant. It's about learning deeper spiritual lessons, examining the commitments that we have in our lives, and really going deep into learning and mastering certain things. And what we got was the middle world, presence. And that really causes me to think about, like Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Not just being present as in being aware of what's going on 3D reality, but what's going on 5D, and being able to be aware of what's going on without attachment to it. Just being present, just being here now. Just being you in the moment. And the Divine Guidance cards that came with it were pick a new direction for now, and life is only as easy or hard as we believe it needs to be. And so Spirit's really calling these masculines with Aries traits to stop and recognize how their own beliefs have gotten them where they are. And well, you know what? I have strong Aries placements myself. My Divine Masculine has strong Aries placements, and my dad has strong Aries placements. I'm well aware that as folks with strong Aries traits, we forget that our beliefs are often what manifest how our reality plays out. Like, if we believe that something is going to be difficult, it is difficult. If we believe it's going to be easy, it is easy. And instead of doing that, we often attach the ease or difficulty of life to those who are around us and what they're doing that we believe is either making things easier or making things harder. And I also get the sense that a lot of these Aries Divine Masculines they've been doing a lot of black and white thinking. Like, all I have is crap or crap. It's the lesser evil or the lesser evil. None of my situations seem very good right now. And Spirit is kind of saying, like, well, yeah, the choices you're looking at are crap, but there are other choices. And you don't have to choose from lesser evil to lesser evil. You can choose greater good. And because in this card, there's one single figure in it, it's a horse, who, horse is about family and community, but it's also about being individual within community. And so I'm getting the sense that Spirit is really calling these Aries Divine Masculines to, well, kind of embrace what a lot of their sign is about, individuality. And learning the difference between selfishness and self-love. Learning the difference between being in relationship because you're afraid to be alone versus being in relationship because you enjoy having somebody's loving presence in your life and who contributes in positive ways. Learning to want relationship instead of need it. Learning to hold yourself as worthy of not putting up with other people's crap just so that you won't feel alone. I don't know, there's a bunch of messages in there for that, but this last week of May, the end of May, you're probably going to see these divine masculines, or if you are divine masculine watching this, there's probably going to be a few different choices that you're going to make. I drew some cards of what divine masculine went through mid-May, kind of learning, and then these are what divine masculine is likely to be going through as through this last bit of May. And what I really got the sense of is that a lot of the negative momentum, we got the Chariot in reverse, which these masculines could also have some strong Cancer placements, or the karmic could, or you, the person watching, could have some strong Cancer traits. Either way, usually in upright, it's about positive momentum and victory and really enjoying the contrasts of life. And in reverse, it's old momentum popping up. It's stinking thinking. It's it's your internal zoo of bad habits and other people's drama and things just kind of exploding onto everything like a big volcano. And we have the Two of Wands reversed there, which in upright, the Two of Wands, or sorry, not Two of Wands, Two of Swords to me is really about learning to, it's learning discernment, learning the ability to make decisions by intuition. And in reverse, it's ignoring your intuition. It's usually giving somebody the silent treatment, and it's having rigid boundaries about things. It's kind of like deactivating strategies and ways to push people away. And I really get the sense that many of you divine feminines watching will have kind of felt that this last week, because this divine masculine is frustrated. Or these divine masculines, a bunch of them they've been so used to just kind of plowing through life and not worrying about how they really felt about anything, which as a consequence, they never really showed empathy about how anyone else felt. And they just were able to just focus on their work or somebody else's problems, and they're not able to do that anymore. They become enlightened enough that they know they can't do that anymore, and they're frustrated about that. They're frustrated with themselves more than anything, because they recognize just how absurd that is, but they still feel that way. They're used to being able to blame other people for the things that don't go well. And some of these masculines have been in situations where they thought that if they got, like kind of subconsciously, if they got with somebody else, those other people would make decisions for them and they could blame them if they didn't go very well. And they ended up with karmics who hardly make any decisions. And so they have to make all the decisions. And then they get the blame if things don't go very well. And they've been faced with karmics who are exactly like the way that they have been. They're like a mirror reflection. And some of their karmics have, are like 5 times the mirror reflection. It's to such a level that it's absurd. But it's put them in the situation where they really had to stop and consider, who am I? What kind of person do I want to be? And, it is my time really worth all this absurdity? Now, in their in mid-May and at the end of May, they have the Five of Pentacles reversed twice. And at the center of this deck, we had the Four of Pentacles reversed, which is decline. And so I'm getting the sense that some of these divine masculines cut off the situation and they're holding their boundaries, but their karmics are they're pulling out all the stops to try to suck them back in, whether that's family or hardship or using the pity plays, things like that. They're really, really trying to hammer home on that. And these divine masculines in the past months, they've fallen for that. They've fallen into that. And they've turned the other cheek and looked the other way. And some of them are just getting to the point where there's so many little things, little repeat wash cycles that are just building in momentum and not changing and not getting better, that they're just fed up with it. And for others, they probably could have put up with the little wash cycle things just because they're so used to that, and maybe they grew up with that sort of thing. But their karmics did something big enough that they can't just turn the other cheek without knowing that they're signing up for increased toxicity, and that at some point everyone's going to find out about it and look at them and go, how many kinds of stupid can the person be, you know? Or, just how masochistic are you? Either way, they're not happy. They've been through some unnecessarily difficult situations this mid-May, and it's looking like okay. What I'm seeing here, we got the Six of Wands, which is a Leo card. So it's about learning to be an individual, and in a house, it's the rec room. And so, it's learning to be okay being you, just for being you and enjoying you. But it's mostly a card of recognition. For me, that's what stands out most, is to be recognized for who you are. And it's also a card about boundaries. So what I'm getting the sense of is that these divine masculines, most of them, are really recognizing the need for having boundaries in a way that they weren't before. And for a lot of people that have had crappy boundaries, a lot of the reason that happens is they really feel like they end up punishing themselves by upholding boundaries with consequences that would actually have an effect on their relationship, either turning it around and getting the other person to, act right and be respectful and kind and thoughtful, or it ends the relationship so that you're no longer under that, and they've been avoiding that. They don't like that. It seems like conflict. It makes them feel like a jerk, or it triggers their fear of being alone, fear of being abandoned, and so they've avoided it, and they're really starting to recognize what's going on here. They're starting to recognize that it is their poor boundaries that have created these situations of hardship, lack of support, feeling left out in the cold, feeling stabbed in the back, feeling like they're getting kicked when they're down, and this trickery. The Magician reversed is one of the cards for me that really represents narcissism. It's gaslighting. It's manifesting little things to happen to drive your partner crazy, or using crazy making tactics like blame shifting and going round robin, and I'm getting the sense a number of these masculines have karmics who are... Okay, what I'm being drawn towards is these two cards. I asked for these two cards to clarify what the Divine Masculine is really recognizing. And what we got was the Two of Cups reversed and the Four of Swords in upright. And so I think what most of these Aries Divine Masculines are learning to recognize is until they own and accept that they have to learn how to love themselves and enjoy being by themselves, they're going to continue to have disharmony and crappy relationships. And I think they're really starting to recognize that the relationship that they're in with this karmic was never going to be what they wanted it to be. Kind of that reaching that state. For some of you, if your divine masculine jumped into a rebound relationship, they're reaching that state to where they're becoming disenchanted. Like in the beginning, they may have been like, oh yeah, you're perfect, and either you're total opposite to my divine feminine, or you're exactly like her and you do all the things that she did but better. And they're starting to get to the point to where they're recognizing that's not... neither of those are true, and they're not happy, and that words are not working, expressing themselves and not working, and they're at least self-possessed enough to be at a point where they recognize that it's not because they're not worthy of it. It's not because they're not putting their best foot forward, which is kind of a double-edged sword on its own, because a lot of these masculines jumped into this relationship to avoid putting their best foot forward. But it seems to me that a lot of them really they genuinely convinced themselves that they could do better in this new relationship with this new person, rather than, like, many of these masculines messed up with their divine feminines, and rather than being accountable for that and going back and fixing what the messes that they made, they convinced themselves that they were far too big, that they couldn't be fixed, and that they weren't worthy of being with their divine feminines, but that they were worthy of being with this karmic, and that even if it was a crappy situation to start with, they could use what they learned and what they wish they had done with their divine feminines to have a good, healthy relationship with this new person. And what they're recognizing is that that's not true. What they're recognizing is that their thoughts have gotten the better of them again, that they've been impulsive and rushed into a situation where they're more unhappy than they would have been if they'd stayed in their last position, or if they were just alone. And it's really making them want to be alone. Anyways, what I'm what I'm sensing, however, is that as we get towards the end of May, in the beginning of June, which is, June is the 6th month. That's the Lover's card, and that's really about getting your head and your heart reconnected, and it's about making decisions, especially that have to do with love, but also with business. And at the end here, we see the King of Cups and the Sun, which, that's maturity, and it's like learning that adulthood isn't void of fun. I know far too many people, especially with strong Aries placements, that tend to confuse being an adult with being like a curmudgeon jerk. Like, being responsible doesn't mean you never have any fun. And having to work a lot doesn't mean, or having bills to pay doesn't equal needing to be a workaholic. And a lot of these divine masculines have been using their emperor energy in reverse and trying to focus far too hard on their pentacles. And they're not seeing results from it. The situation that they're in is sucking away all their pentacles and creating further hardship. And the more money they make, the faster it goes. And they're really starting to recognize that there are emotional things, there are spiritual things, energetic things that are getting in the way, and they can't be ignored anymore. And I asked, with these extra cards here, we have the Three of Swords reversed and the Queen of Cups and upright. What I was asking is, why is the masculine feeling like this, or experiencing this King of Cups and the Sun card at the end of May? And the Three of Swords in reverse, like upright, it's like loss, betrayal, ouch, it's a lot of times a breakup. And in reverse, it's a reconciliation. And because it was lined up with the Queen of Cups, what I'm really getting the sense of is that by the end of May, these masculines, they'll either already have embraced themselves and gone for a more mature path, or they will have just started. And for those divine masculines watching, you might feel like a totally different person making that sort of decision. You're kind of coming into a state to where you're learning to recognize that you are still a king even without a queen. And for the divine femmes who are, on the outside observing what's going on, you might notice that your divine masculine seems to be acting like a totally different person. And what I can suggest for either side is just keep in mind the mantra of everything is unfolding beautifully. Don't try to control it. Don't spend too much time questioning it. Especially because what it looks like it's leading to is a reconciliation. King and Queen of Cups together, and I'm not getting the sense that this is like union happening, in the sense of like you'll be back in relationship or anything. I'm getting the sense that this divine masculine is not ready for that, whether or not divine feminine is. You usually reflect each other, so if he's not ready, you're probably not ready yet either. But what I am getting the sense of is much greater emotional maturity, and that these masculines with strong Aries placements, their 5D selves are really starting to take the wheel. And I mean, that's a good thing. It might be a bit confusing on all ends as we get towards the end of May, but it's working out for the best. It's always working out for the best. We got to remember that even when things don't look like they're going in a positive direction, they are. And this masculine is going to have healed a great number of ego issues. I'm seeing a lot of yellow in all of these. And that'll be good. That's something that you want. Now, I also pulled some cards, and these are for Divine Feminines who are watching. I made these little messages cards. So these are some messages from your Divine Masculine with Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising. Just keep in mind, I mean, it could be that one of these is for you, or it could be that all of these is for you. Just, take what resonates and leave the rest for someone else that it resonates with. What we got here is, I'm going to ask your forgiveness soon, which really lines up with this. I mean, it's kind of confirmation, right? Reconciliation, accepting consequences with the Queen of Cups there. I'm going to ask your forgiveness soon. So for some of you, you're going to have a Divine Masculine who's going to really own that he recognizes that he got himself into a crap situation and he's the one who needs to get himself out. Next card we got, I'm confused about what I did wrong. Will you please tell me gently? I want to fix it. And that could be something that has already happened, or it could be something that is likely to happen this week. And it could be, it could be Divine Femmes that, I mean, because you reflect each other, you could be you're probably going through your own hardships, even if it's just the simple matter of wondering what in the heck is going on with your Divine Masculine, taking him so long to heal and get back to you. Which can be frustrating on its own, or maybe you're feeling neglected, or maybe you're having your own challenges with your own third parties. Either way, you could be acting distant or combative with your masculine and putting off the opportunity to have this reconciliation with them. So if it seems like they're confused or acting weird towards you, it could be a reasonable time for some of you to check in and say, hey, I'm feeling out of sorts for this reason. It's not anything you've done, or it is something that you've done, but this is why, and either I just need time to fix it on my own, or this is what you can do to fix it. And last, we are a perfect custom fit for each other. We'll never find any other who will feel as good or as right as we do with each other. I'm getting the sense that the Divine Masculines that line up with that really will line up with this, the King of Cups and the Sun card. The Sun card is very much a joy, and it lines up with the recognition of, the situation that he manifested is not a great one. He's tired of it. He's feeling very martyred in it and very tricked. He feels like he got tricked into it, and more that he tricked himself, and that he was just scared. He was just scared of the genuine love that was presented to him in a relationship with you. And, so he's likely going to, in his own way, ask for forgiveness. And he's still learning how to do that, a lot of which requires presence and allowing Spirit to help lead him and releasing past hardships that have been going on. So, yeah, I'm getting a lot of feeling on that. Just be kind. Be kind to your masculines. The way that you might ask for forgiveness from them might not be the same way that they would ask for it from you. And don't be afraid, if you need to say that you need a little more time or space to consider things if they seem like they're rushing back into you. But make sure that you're honest with them about what your intentions are. Likely, if you're in this reading, your intentions are to have union with them, but don't be so focused on union for union's sake. If you're just looking to get into union because you feel like it'll make you feel better, or you'll have some status achieved or something like that, then you're being karmic too. So make sure that you want union with them as they are now. Don't get into union with them for the potential of who they could become. And if it doesn't feel like it's time to rush it, don't rush it. Even if they react poorly to you saying, hey, slow down, or not right now, that doesn't mean they're not going to try again. It just might mean that you both need a little bit more space. Alright, so please let me know if you would like any further detailed readings, or if you have any particular questions about this reading. I'm willing to answer a couple of them in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and click to subscribe as I try to get some more regularity down with these readings. Thanks so much. Bye.